Beautiful afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us on Africa Discourse on Independent Television. My name is Eva Zunuhuge. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about two key issues. First and foremost, we're going to look at what happened in the UK very recently, whereby a change of government was effected in UK. Yeah, the Conservative, after a very long time, left the United Kingdom. And as we speak now, the Labour Party are occupying 10 Downing Street in Manchester. Yes, what are the issues? How will this impact on Africa? I mean, the Labour Party in government in UK, and of course, the direct or indirect impact is going to be having on Africa is what we're going to be looking at as one of our topics today. Then also, we are still saying a very big kudos to our own President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for emerging for the second time or second tenure now as the chairman of Ecowas, and that tenure is going to last for the next 1 year. Well, today being 8, tomorrow marks it 1 year that he's been the chairman of Ecowas. So from tomorrow, he's going to be picking the saddle one more time to assume the responsibility of being the chairman of Ecowas for the next 1 year. Now, there are big issues there, big expectations, because as we speak now, we understand that out of the 13, 15 West African countries in the Ecowas bloc, about 3-4 of them have decided to leave, and we also understand that they've decided to also form their own, states. We're going to be looking at all that. So the big question is, how will our president, how will he ensure the issue of integration, which is a major responsibility, for the Ecowas bloc in other countries in the region. All right, so today we are so privileged to have two gentlemen here. Before we see the top headlines that we are following on the program this morning, please join me to welcome Dr. Peter Owaibi, who is joining us visually from UK. He is an international political analyst and, of course, a member of the PDP Campaign Council in Diaspora. Dr. Peter Owaibi, popularly known as Peter the Rock. Dr. Peter, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you too.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay. All right, so we have Professor Victor Igbenedion, who is a lecturer with the University of Benin and a lecturer with the Department of Vocational and Technical Education, also a political analyst. So you're welcome to the program, Africa Discourse.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so let's see the major headlines that we are following now. First and foremost, we have headline 1, junta chiefs turn their back on West Africa bloc. Yes, you can see the 3 military junta heads there, talking about Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. So these 3 guys have, this whole thing happened some months ago, whereby they decided to oust themselves from ECOWAS. So as we speak now, there are huge considerations going on that they are forming their own bloc, their own Sahel state. Those are the reports that we are following. So the big question is, how will the new chairman guarantee the integration of all the member states of ECOWAS, even as we know that there have been issues for quite some time now. So we're going to be looking at all that as we continue on the show. Then also for headline 2, we have Starmer confirms Rwanda deportation plan dead. That's the new UK Prime Minister. Of course, we're going to be looking at all that, talking about the plans that the Labour Party has for Africa. And just as Keir Starmer, that's the new Prime Minister in UK, assumed office yesterday, one of the very first things he said was that the Rwanda-Africa immigration plan is dead. The implication of that is that any amount that UK has been using to sponsor the immigration issue in Rwanda, then of course that is a dead, alive policy. We are going to be looking at all that. How would that impact, whether direct impartation, negative impartation, or positive impartation now on the continent of Africa. Headline 2, Starmer confirms Rwanda deportation plan there. Then also we have West Africa bloc warns of disintegration as juntas form Confederation of Sahel State. We saw that a while ago, whereby the military junta chiefs, Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, coming together to form their own Confederation of Sahel State. So West Africa bloc warns of disintegration of juntas form Confederation of Sahel State. That's headline number 3. Then we also have a weakened West Africa bloc asks Senegal leader to try to convince breakaway states to return. The more we are, the stronger we be. That's the belief in Ecowas. So some nations falling apart because of the military junta intervention in this nation. So it is weakening the Ecowas bloc. So a weakened West Africa bloc asks Senegal leader to try to convince breakaway states to return. Some saying that that is not a good one on the part of the leadership of ECOWAS. That if there's anybody that is, to make the move, it has to be the leadership of ECOWAS now, not the president of Senegal. Anyway, that's a talk for another day. So headline number 4, a weakened West African bloc asks a Senegalese leader to try to convince breakaway states to return. Then the very last headline that we have, it's South Africa. We have nearly 1,000 homes in Cape Town destroyed by storms. That's headline number 5. South Africa, nearly 1,000 homes in Cape Town destroyed by storms. So these are the major headlines that we are following at this time. So before we come to our analysts, let's quickly see, it's a very short video now whereby the Labour government took over, the 10 Downing Street a few days ago. Let's see the video whereby the new Prime Minister, reacted.
Did it!
Keir Starmer has become British next Prime Minister after the Labour Party won the required 326 seats. Achieving a parliamentary majority as result shows Rishi Sunak's Conservative Party suffer historic losses. The result gives Labour a majority of 170 and will bring the cutting down on 14 years of increasingly tumultuous Conservative-led government.
Today we start the next chapter, begin the work of change, the mission of national renewal, and start to rebuild our country.
You have helped us get our best results for over 100 years.
Centre-left Labour captured 410 of the 650 seats in Parliament, an astonishing reversal of fortunes from 5 years ago when it suffered its worst performance since 1935 under the leadership of then Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn. The outgoing Conservative Prime Minister Rishi Sunak conceded defeat on Friday after the vote shows he had successfully retained his parliamentary seat in Northern England.
The British people have delivered a sobering verdict tonight. There is much to learn and reflect on, and I take responsibility for the loss.
The ruling Conservative Party secured 119 seats, the worst result in its 190 years history, and a massive reversal on his victory in the last election in 2019. Roslyn Evorame, ITV News.
All right, thank you, Rosalie Neverame, for that beautiful package there. So, gentlemen, my guest of this afternoon, Peter Owabi, and also Professor Victor Igbenedi, welcome one more time. Now, let's start from the diaspora now, because of he's an African in the diaspora and in UK. Dr. Peter Owabi, you probably have more information that we may not have here. So give us your first-hand reaction when you heard that Labour Party took over 10 Downing Street in the UK as an African.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, it is very cooperative on my side, Judging from the fact that I live in United Kingdom and I live in London, and I also took part in the voting. I also voted, and yes, if I want to look at it holistically, it could be a comparison between the kind of voting patterns we experience in Africa, or let me say particularly Nigeria, as compared to the voting pattern that I experienced on the 5th, a few days back, in London. And well, you see, the process started very peacefully, very amicably. The atmosphere was very conducive. Um, you don't find policemen and soldiers in the polling booths. You don't find gangsters and prepared hooliganism, in the polling booths. You just find yourself in the polling booth with one official, and the official directs you. You just mark your preference as per the candidate and drop it in the box. It's as simple as that. And one begins to wonder, how come we Nigerians, particularly, are not in imitation of this kind of calm, well-organized system of achieving a democratic tone in governance? Then you start to feel so bad that a country like Nigeria, who were necessarily colonized by the United Kingdom or by the UK, who we have borrowed all of our leaves of governance and attitudes from, but we refuse to borrow the niceness and the cordiality and the civility of life from them. Instead, we continue to mark our tracks with violence, death, blood, and sorrow in an election. So if you ask me, really, how do I feel? What is my concern? I would say my concern is for the well-being of Africans, particularly Nigerians. Let us learn to take the good things out of the world and stop, initiating and attracting the worst for the people of Nigeria. I mean, you see, my family, we all went to vote, and there was no shielding of throwing of bottles and throwing of stones, nothing like that. You don't find a government official in rascality carrying the policemen to whom your tax is sustained in office, leading rigging or leading the snatching of ballot boxes from the polling units or polling booths. You don't see such things. And this is 2024, and in this century, we should be able to learn to have things done, devoid of the sufferings and devoid of the nonplussity of the situation of the people. Granted, it should be, human beings should be dignifiable. Human beings should be dignified. This extent of dehumanization in everything we do in Nigeria and in Africa, in inverted commas, is so embarrassing and depletes a lot of knowledgeness. So what do you want us to do next in Nigeria?
Okay, all right, Dr. There now, I'll have Professor Victor Igbenedion here. Now, Prof, perhaps there are so many things that we can say we can learn from. We saw the former Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, owning, and he even said that he claims a responsibility for the defeats of the Conservative Party losing in that election. And we saw the resounding joy that followed the announcement of a star Keir Starmer as the winner for Labour Party. Now, you want to probably add, more voice to what Dr. Peter Waibe said as an African.
Well, what he has said is, what do we learn from the situation on ground? the transition from one party to the other. But the topic we are interrogating is talking about what is the policy implication.
Yeah, well, we're going to come to that. We'll come to that.
I didn't hear the earlier part of his contribution. Well, if there is nothing bad in embracing the way they conduct their elections. We see a smooth transition. Everything is worked very fine, and people were celebrating. The loser embraced the victor. And that's how it should be ordinarily. So it's a big lesson for Nigerians to see that there is no need to put our lives in danger simply because of election that if somebody wins, it will move just for 4 years or 5 years. Things will change again. If we imbibe that culture, okay, we'll be good losers and magnanimous victors, things will be okay for Nigeria. The danger of fighting recklessly and losing lives is not the best for us at all.
Okay. Now, Dr. YB, we are looking at the policy implication of the Labour Party now coming into government in the UK. And before now, we saw the massive support that the Conservative Party had for Africa. Take, for example, what has been going on in Rwanda, whereby more than 15 million pounds has been spent so far, for, people looking for immigration issues, so to say, in Rwanda. So right now, it has changed because Keir Starmer said that policy is dead. So the implication of that is that no more support for, Rwanda, as it were, and maybe asylum seekers in Rwanda for the UK. So what do you think are the direct implications for Rwanda and perhaps for the continent of Africa?
Yeah, the direct implication is based on human rightism. Moving asylum seekers to Rwanda in the first place is discriminatory and is slightly inhuman and violates the human rights. These asylum seekers came into the United Kingdom. They did not go into Rwanda. They saw Rwanda before they did not go into Rwanda. They decided to come to UK. So you should treat their asylum application whilst they are in the United Kingdom. But when you move them to Rwanda, Kigali, you are violating their rights. And the convention, the rights of the convention states categorically in the European Convention, that asylum seekers should be granted all the human rights while their application is being processed. So when you remove them from the country where they have landed, the country of their habitation, and the country where they are seeking asylum, to an African country, it's one, it's unpopular, and two, it's negative, it's unproductive. Although Rwanda, we are going to gain from it because they were sitting squarely in recognition of their governmental system of human rights and the application of human rights laws as against Nigeria. They looked into about several countries before they chose Rwanda. And all that 15 million pounds, which you said, they have invested in the process of having to have their asylum seekers, deported to Rwanda while the application is being, treated. All that money to Rwanda is a benefit to that country. And Nigeria did not score that benefit. Otherwise, they would have had all that kind of money also. And the security fear was also part of the reasons why, was also part of the establishment on where and how to go. And one of their thinking is that if they were brought to countries like Nigeria, the asylum seekers will become adopted and they will be kidnapped, and Britain will be asked to start paying ransom. So they had to move it to a country that had more security, like Rwanda. But again, a lot of British people did not support it. A lot of leftist British people supported it. And then now that Starmer have come into governance, his major and his first pronouncement is in the rights of human rights, and says the asylum project of moving asylum seekers to Rwanda while the applications were being pursued and evaluated in the United Kingdom was wrong, technically wrong, legally wrong, and human rightly wrong. And so he put a stamp into it and said, well, that one does not exist in his government, and his government is not going to pursue that angle. And so all that money that we invested and all is to the benefit of Rwandans. That is it with that asylum project, you know.
Perhaps it's going to be a very complex situation for Rwanda and Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, because I remember, you know, he said it that should the case power changes hands in the UK, that he won't have any option than to return all that has been invested in Rwanda in this regard. So that's what is standing against him today. Now, how do you think Rwanda as a nation is going to go in the whole of all this now? Because those guys all over the world, different parts of nations of the world now, most of them people, illegal immigrants that tries to go into the UK with small boats, that's what they call them, and they are caught, they are taken to Rwanda. Now, the challenge of trying to really identify, because most times they don't disclose their identity anymore, their nationalities, they don't want to say it because of fear of being returned back home. So don't you think it's going to be a huge challenge for Paul Kagame and Rwanda on how to locate them and know their identity and to send them back home?
Very well. It's going to be a Herculean task for Paul Kagame. But, you know, they have, before they turned them to Rwanda, they must have taken their fingerprints.
Yeah, we're talking about identity to know their country of origin. Yeah.
Their country. The technology is very advanced. It can be determined.
Oh, really?
Yes. What gets to me most of all is, why did the UK send them to Rwanda in the first case? And that's what our colleague discussing was saying. He said technically it violates their human rights. And it speaks volume of them, you know, as a nation. You know, Africans think that if they don't put their houses in order, they will go to UK or America or whatever it is. This one is a centric government. Labour government is a centric government. You heard him talking about leftist this and that. This one is a centric government. And before now, Sunak.
Yeah. Sunak. Yeah, Richie Sunak.
Yeah, Richie Sunak was talking about their problem was the migration net. They're talking about the migration net. They are wondering what to do with the migrants. They are trying to retrain their people because they felt that the migrants are coming to take their jobs, and it makes their people very lazy. They don't want to work. So they have a plan of retraining their people to take over their work in their country. So they want to systematically reduce the migration net.
So are you saying that that is probably one of the factors why the Conservative lost out in the election?
It's possible, because a lot of migrants are there. Is it not so? In the UK, and you saw Nigerians contesting for various positions, and some of them winning, and it has been over time. So any policy that is contrary to them, to their people back home, it will not be popular.
Okay. All right, so let's return back to Dr. Wabi before we take a short pause there. Now, Doctor, you are in the UK. Now, give us your first-hand information and perhaps what actually happened, in the election. The conservative, did they lost out in the election? So many issues to talk about now. The Brexit is there, and of course this Rwanda, UK immigration issue. So what were the factors? Why did they lose?
I mean, you lose when the people are not happy with the rate of pace of development, economic development, and the betterment and advancement of the people's lifestyle. Now, for instance, the equity of measurement of good standard of life is mostly on health, education, and family values. And recently in the United Kingdom, the NHS, which is the National Health Service, has been overmeted with high volume of patients in waiting, which has become the highest patients in waiting in the last 100 years in the UK. And you see, in these countries like the United Kingdom, they value their health system so very much. And this government, the government of Sunak, Richie, was was lost in the solution possible to avert all those long waiting lists in the NHS. Sometimes waiting lists can knock into about a year, 2 years, just waiting to be called into some kind of surgery, as and as minor as maybe even prostate cancer surgeries. You can wait up to 2 years, and in the process of waiting, a lot of lives are lost. And the average, British man do not believe that is as a result of good governance. They believe that is as a result of a deleterious government. They believe that's the result of a government that has no possible solution in its agenda. So such a government, they don't want to encourage such a government.
Now, Dr. YB, we'll just allow you 30 seconds so that you can bet your points on that first topic before we go over to the next topic. Quickly.
Yes, as I was saying, so the British people were not ready to entertain the continuity of government that seems ineffective and seems incapable of being able to solve, the problems that we are facing the people of the United Kingdom. As I said, the health problem, the take-home pay, the extreme hardship in terms of food items, and the general lifestyle and pattern. Went a little bit slope and dipped, and they were not quite comfortable with such, so they needed to vote out the government of Sunak, and then that's it. And plus, Sunak was not even too intelligent, and he didn't have too much experience, and it showed in the way the government and its economy went into perplexity, and then of course it became problematic. Sorry?
Yeah, I have to interrupt you there when you say Sunak is not too intelligent. I mean, these were things that the British did not see. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, there is a difference between academic intelligence, political intelligence, and domestic intelligence. Sunak lacked all. And it showed in the result of his economy. It was so hazardous, people, dying and everything. The pre-COVID era was so deliberately, disadvantageous to the people of UK. And it's not like in Africa, they vote you out. Once you're not performing as per expectations, if you're underperforming, there's no way you are going to stay there. There's no way to read, as I said earlier on. So in comparison to Africans, when they believe they are going to read, they don't give a hoot. They don't even care what they know, what they don't know. So it's absolutely, bewildering to see that a government that cannot, salvage the hardship of the people is left in government. If it's in Nigeria, Sunak will come back, and there'll be no qualm about it. The people will be left to suffer. The people will be left to swallow the pill of bitter poison, which government is always forcing down their throat. This is different. This is civilization, and we are not able to emulate, positive civilization. We hinge our hopes, and our concern on the negativity and the negative cantonments of government. The cantonment of government is too negative, for instance, in Nigeria. And how can people continue to live in abject poverty, which has been created, sustained by bad governance and by bad governance policies? The government, in comparison with the government of the United Kingdom, is government of self-aggrandization. In Nigeria, for instance, they
Okay,
care
let
about
us not
themselves
spend
personally.
much time on this UK issue now because we've got all that topic. All right, so gentlemen, the program is still Africa Discourse. We saw 2 days ago whereby President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was re-elected for another tenure that is going to last for the next 1 year as the chairman of ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West Africa States, about 15 nations in West Africa making member states of the bloc. And very recently, we saw issues that have threatened the ECOWAS. And for most analysts, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has a huge responsibility to handle at hand. Now, let's quickly take this report. We'll be right back to look at the issues more critically.
Therefore, ensure that you meet the expectations and recommendations set forth by our ministers of defense and finance in order to counter the insecurity and stabilize our region. Member states must make extra commitment on providing resources for stabilizing the region. To this end, I urge ECOWAS to leverage on the capability of the Nigerian National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC, which is widely acknowledged as one of the best on the continent. The Nigerian government has decided to declare the NCTC as a regional center.
All right, thank you so much. That was the acceptance speech of the current chairman and, of course, our own president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the acceptance of making him the chairman of ECOWAS for the next 1 year. Now, we understand that the 3 cardinal aims of ECOWAS to promote cooperation and integration among member states and to enhance economic stability and also to foster relations among member states. Now, 15 nations in West Africa are members of ECOWAS, and as it stands now, about 5 of them, before the 3 decided to come out to say that they are, on the verge of forming their own Sahel states, in other words, their own bloc, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. Those are the 3 nations now. Now, Professor Victor, the expectations, for the chairman, the president, is high. How do you think he will begin to really tackle these issues bedeviling the ECOWAS as it stands now?
Well, he's been there for 1 year, and I have not seen any significant impact in this integration, cooperation, and all that of ECOWAS. He has a monstrous assignment at home. Nigeria as a country, we are undergoing serious economic pressure. And things are not very right. So somebody, it's like you carry elephant on your head, you are using your leg to dig ants or cricket, as the case may be. How is he going to get enough time? That's why we cannot make specific reference to an impact that he has made in the first 1 year. Of course, on this program some time ago, we saw that it was a Herculean task. It's going to be a Herculean task for him to be able to make any significant impact. In the sense that the people came in, the destabilizing factors now are these coup plotters who want to take out their country. They say confederation of Sahel states, the 3 so far. But you don't think, we threatened them, we sanctioned. We are supposed to do this one, we are supposed to do this one. After sanctions were lifted, it didn't make any difference at all. You must look beyond these leaders. They are colonial masters. It's like the voice of Jacob. the hand of Esau, as Bible will say. The people engineering these leaders, these military leaders, they are colonial masters.
But we saw their colonial masters recently. Take, for example, Niger, colonized by the French government.
Yes.
I mean, they even ousted their colonial masters
Yes.
and giving room for the Wagner Group in Russia and all that. So can we still point accusing fingers at their colonial masters?
Well, what we said the other time, you push out one, another one comes in. And because on their own, which is a problem of African leaders, they don't have the sufficient initiative to look inwards. I know that no nation can survive on its own, but the issue of looking inward and creating, like the Chinese did, you block, we are going to survive. The resources are here. Let's do the best that we can to be able to survive. And they are not doing that. Any little thing, you run to these people. You are just, okay, you remove the French, you invite the Russians to come in. So it's the same neo-colonization, so to speak. So once they are being backed by these foreign powers, and they have elected that they are going on their own, it's going to be very difficult for President Tinubu to make a significant impact.
Okay. All right. So, Dr. YB, we still have you there. Our own President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, elected for another tenure as the chairman of Ecowas. Now, what Professor Victor is probably saying here is that perhaps the president has so much in his hands. I mean, considering the one-term economic issues in the country. So, do you think, along with Professor Victor Igbenedion, that President Ahmed Bola Tinubu may not make so much progress in this task for him for the second tenure?
Yes, if we must be candid as human beings, human beings must learn to speak truth to truth. We cannot continue to deceive ourselves in fear of one or two human beings who are also Nigerians like you, because they come and arrogate themselves the powers of iniquity, like, they do the wrong things and watch. As Professor rightly said, we have so much, concerns in our country, Nigeria, which we have not even started to solve, not to talk of, solving it. Our present government, or our present president that has been elected the second time, he lacks the will of respect to his people at home. He lacks the will to people. All he likes is self-aggrandization, as I said before. When you as a country, you don't even have your national airline, you are thinking of buying a personal aeroplane for yourself, or a personal, let me put the word jet. So a president like that, you are going as a chairman, second tenure, ECOWAS. And in any case, what is ECOWAS? ECOWAS' own thinking is, we are going to come into one single currency. They have been thinking about that in the last decade, and they are now giving a benchmark of 2027 to come into a single currency. What are you even talking about, a single currency, when we don't even have a currency in Nigeria? Our currency in Nigeria now has become so obnoxiously absolute into strength of, say, legal tendency. We have lost the capacity, strength, and the elasticity of our money in Nigeria. And so if you are even thinking, first and foremost, let's reason what is the meaning of ECOWAS that was signed in by the Treaty of Lagos several years ago, I think 1974, 1944, I cannot remember. But the Treaty of Ecowas then was made to say economic state of West Africa, economic state of West Africa, which they can trade among themselves without hindrances or without barriers. But has ECOWAS been able to meet that tranche, the schedule that is set for themselves? No, they have not been able to meet it. And now they are sanctioning Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, because they they were able to ousted the government that were excessively corrupt. The military government ousted them. And one of the major reasons why they're hanging on Bola Tinubu to become the chairman is that they think, you know, in their illusionness, you know, that maybe Bola Tinubu have a strong army to be able to contain the uprising of the military juntas in the region of West African countries. But it doesn't have that strength, because if he has that strength, he has not been able to contain Boko Haram in Nigeria. He has not been able to contain kidnapping in Nigeria. So why are they looking at him as if he's going to contain the co-op surge in West African countries? No, those are the criteria they use in measuring him becoming the chairman. Nothing more, nothing less. It's not by capacity. It's not by performance. As a matter of fact, it's absolutely dubious. The system that brought him back into second term. And we're putting into consideration that the headquarters of ECOWAS itself is in Abuja. And so the finances of ECOWAS, like Nigeria, and I think they have spent over 13 million naira to humanitarian. So they believe in maybe the money Nigeria has and the continuous survival rates Nigeria is implanting on ECOWAS as a commission, because the headquarters is in Abuja, their functionaries in Abuja, I think the commission also and everything, their justice system are all in Abuja. So Nigeria is picking the bills, and they're happy with that. That is why they made him the chairman, they turned him as the chairman to ECOWAS, not because of capacity or performance or any form of ability to come up with better policies for the West African regions. No. Okay. And that's why those countries left.
Yeah,
and
Dr.
those countries
Waibi,
left.
Yeah, Dr. Waibi, all your opinion, everything you said, we'll take that as your own opinion. I mean,
it is, of course, it's personal opinion. That is why I'm here personally now. Am I here another person's name?
I know. I mean, some other persons may feel differently about the way you just aired your opinion. But there's something I need to quickly correct.
Of course, that's democracy.
Yeah, during the course of your conversation. Yeah, Dr. Waibi, during the course of your conversation, you said Nigeria does not have a currency. That's not correct. We have a currency. Naira is our currency. And of course, you also, I understand, but we need to put things in the right perspective so that we don't misquote ourselves out of context.
The currency is very worthless now.
Well, that's your opinion too. Then also,
no, it's in the market.
You also said that President Ahmed Bola Tinubu made himself back to be the chairman of ECOWAS. Well, he did not do that. He was voted in by member states. So we need to say this so that we get things in the right perspective. Now, as we commence our dissent now, Professor Victor Igbenedion. Now, let's look at it now. Military might in Nigeria, Nigeria's military might in Africa is very, very our reputation, gone are those days of Ecowas and all that. Dr. Waibi was trying to say that probably it was one of the reasons that they saw. But Nigeria as a nation has a greater issues at hand. Fighting the Boko Haram insurgency is a big task. So is it the issue of those that made President Ahmed Bola Tinubu the chairman misfired?
Well, you see, their conception of Nigeria, what they see from outside, I think Nigeria is they commonly referred to as the giant of Africa, so to speak. But over time, that reputation has been denigrated to a very, reduced level. We can see that the Boko Haram itself that started in a very small way. It's now hydra-headed. To curb it is a big problem for Nigeria. It has morphed from terrorism to kidnapping to different dimensions that are spiraled out of control in the hands of Nigerian government. And don't forget too that people are making a lot of money. So internal forces, they are there making a lot of money who don't even want the battle to end. It's just like when ECOMOG was going on. The military people were trading with it. They made a lot of money too. The same thing with this one. They buy arms, they approve money for arms buying, They turn around, use the money for a different thing or put it in their pocket. You saw how much a general was discovered to have in his account. So that kind of war, it will not go anywhere. And your question is, oh, they are supposed to be looking at us as big brother who can rescue them. But we have issues at home that the military itself cannot rise up to the occasion of defending itself. Talk less of going outside. Apart from the allowance, if you say they should go outside to get allowance in dollars, maybe fine. But to do the work, you have to clean your house first, which has been very difficult to do. That's why we're in a quagmire. If somebody tells you the amount of money that has been voted for this Boko Haram terrorism war, it is probably what is also affecting all the areas of the economy. They deploy so much resources there, and nothing is coming out of it. If I tell you, if that battle is solved today, you will see a lot of resources will be freed to other areas of the economy. But the government is afraid that if we don't deploy more money to this area, we can be overrun. And so they keep pumping money there. Some of them, they go back and take the money, leaving other sectors in comatose.
Okay. All right. So, Dr. Waibi, as we take our last shots from you this afternoon, now, the task of regional integration is perhaps the greatest task that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has. As we speak now, the Senegalese leadership is expected to try to pull back those three nations that are, pulling out Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. Now, what are your suggestions in this direction? How would you want to suggest to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu now on the task of, reintegrating these member states back into ECOWAS?
Yes, well, first and foremost, the countries that have left ECOWAS, they want to ask you, what is the benefit of being member countries of ECOWAS? They don't see any benefit there at all. The only benefit they see there is that they want to come into togetherness to continue to perpetuate injustice undemocratically on the persons and people and the citizens of these countries of West Africa. Of course, Morocco wants to be part of it, and let's say dominantly West African countries. And some countries are not even interested. A country like Cameroon was never interested. Due to their policies, they say, what's the point, And then, of course, these countries that have left, Mali and Burkina Faso and Niger, they are being ruled by military superiority and military strength. In any case, we don't even have a government that is practicable in Nigeria. What kind of government do we have here? A government of oppression, a government that have decorated itself in false armor, an oppressive government, a capistocracy government.
Yeah, Dr. Waibi, we have a government in Nigeria. We need to emphasize that, and it is practicable. We have a government.
But I'm saying the type of government we have in Nigeria is a government of capistocracy, a government where the people who are less fit, who are less authentically fit, qualified, are the ones in government. I just look at the government of the United Kingdom. This boy, Stammers. Stammers is from Oxford University, law degree. From Oxford University, well-educated, well-equipped for the job. We just come into Nigeria. Nigeria government and governance has become a thing for anybody. Small time, pickpockets here and there, fraudulent here and there. Those things must stop. We must address it as a nation. What kind of a nation do we want to have? We want to build. We are associating ourselves with the West African countries. We are associating ourselves with South African countries. We are associating ourselves with this, associating ourselves with whereas we are nothing. Country is shambles. I mean, you have to say the truth, I don't feel proud of Nigeria at all. As a matter of fact, if I was to renounce a country, I would renounce Nigeria as a country. The country is making everybody sick.
Dr. Waibi, Dr. Waibi, we need to say this here and now. I mean, for the fact that you are in Britain, first and foremost, you remain in Nigeria. I mean, Nigerian, so you can't say you want to denounce your country. You won't do that.
No, I'm saying, for instance, everybody in Nigeria has run away. If you put a boat now in Nigeria, in any of the Nigerian shores, say, please, any Nigerian that wants to come overseas, that boat will be overfilled every second you bring a new boat, because we are not happy with our country. And why are we not addressing it? We're not the reason why we're not happy with our country.
Immigration is personal. You have Americans in Nigeria too. You have Britons in Nigeria too, yeah.
No, they're here, but they don't come to stay. They are not economic immigrants. As a matter of fact, they are expatriates. There's a difference between economic immigrants and expatriates. They are not health immigrants. We Nigerians overseas mostly are health immigrants. They come here to take, as small as injections for malaria. Okay. So they are health immigrants or economic immigrants.
Yeah, we want to say a very big thank you to you gentlemen, Dr. Peter Waibi, otherwise known as Peter the Rock, a legal luminary and Esquire, and a member of the PDP Campaign Council in Diaspora. Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Waibi, for joining us on the show.
Thank you extremely very much. Thank you very much.
And also for our erudite Professor Victor Igbenedion from the Great Citadel of Learning, University of Benin, a professor of vocational and technical education. I want to say very big thank you for finding time to come on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right, so until the same time next week on the same program, my name is Evan Sunokuge. Thanks and good afternoon.